You know, the greatest thing about being this age and being in this time is having a community of all these people, especially you, Sophia.
In a moment when Donald Trump's so-called high command is nothing more than a series of stupid executive orders to silence the press and trample on human rights, Jodie Foster and Jeremy Zimmer have led a meaningful protest. The event is not only a slap in the face to Trump's crazy policies, which Foster calls disturbing news with another edict about the rights of the press, but also a laugh at the arrogance of a president who loves to brag but is so afraid of the truth that he has declared war on it. The protest, with the participation of two Hollywood icons, calls into question the democracy that Trump is trying to destroy and promises to expose the absurdity of his decisions that only serve his inflated ego.
And, there was some more disturbing news today. Another edict about the rights of the press. And these are, the rights of the press and the rights of artists and the rights of humans to seek a better life are fundamental to what this country's about.
While Donald Trump was busy playing emperor on his gilded throne, issuing stupid decrees to silence the press and stifle free speech, Jodie Foster did not hesitate to point it out with righteous indignation. She mentioned some more disturbing news today. Another edict about the rights of the press as a warning that Trump's so-called power was nothing more than a cheap farce, where he tried to turn America into a one-man show for his personal rages and twisted ideas. These decrees, rather than protecting democracy, were like shots fired at its very foundations, and Foster, with her shrewdness, did not miss the opportunity to expose the ridiculousness. The protest she and Jeremy Zimmer led attracted a huge crowd of colleagues, friends, clients, and artists, prompting Foster to exclaim that she was humbled by this gathering. This massive presence was not only a testament to the power of unity, but also a slap in the face to Trump, as if to say, no matter how much you scream on Twitter, no matter how much you claim to be the greatest man in history, no one can stand your antics anymore.
We know that the first attack on democracy is an assault on free expression and civil liberties, and this relentless war on truth. And unfortunately, sadly, it's too familiar because history repeats itself.
The event was more than a simple gathering. It was a declaration of war on Trump's stupid policies, a reminder that America is not the playground of a braggart and a destroyer. Foster emphasized that the first attack on democracy is an assault on free expression and civil liberties, and that Trump's relentless war on truth was simply evidence that he feared the truth more than he feared failure. She also pointed out bitterly that history repeats itself, implying that Trump's dirty tricks are nothing new. They are just outdated copies of past dictators who have failed miserably. This protest, for all the ridicule and outrage it brought, was a blow to Trump's inflated ego. It not only exposed his vulnerability to dissent, but also confirmed that, no matter how hard Trump tries, he cannot extinguish the indomitable spirit of those who dare to stand up to the stupidity of power. This was a moment when America, through the lens of Foster and Jeremy Zimmer, stood up to laugh at Trump's self-proclaimed empire, an empire that exists only in his delusions.
It's time to show up. It's a singular time in history.
Jodie Foster not only stood up to protest, but also turned the rally stage into a battle line, where she bluntly threw harsh words at Trump and his absurd policies. In a defiant tone, she called on everyone, it's time to show up. It's time to engage, as a direct slap to the complacency of Trump, who seems to think he can rule America with nothing but angry tweets and hastily scribbled orders on napkins. Foster asserted that this was the singular time in history for everyone to stand up together, not to applaud Trump's cheap performances, but to resist, a word she emphasized with obvious bitterness. This is our time to resist. This statement was nothing less than a sharp knife, stabbing straight into the bloated ego of Trump, who was probably busy imagining himself as the untouchable king of his self-proclaimed kingdom. Foster did not stop there. She also urged people to demand answers and asked officials to do their job, a direct mockery of Trump's so-called leadership capacity, which probably only exists in his own wildest dreams.
We've seen these signs before. We know that the first attack on democracy is an assault on free expression and civil liberties.
While Trump was busy praising himself as the defender of the great America, Foster directly stripped away that mask, pointing out that what he did was nothing more than continuing the dirty tricks of the past. When history repeats itself, the warning was not only an attack on Trump's policies, but also a mockery of his ignorance of history, something Trump has probably never bothered to read beyond his self-praise. More importantly, Foster sent a powerful message of unity, crossing all the boundaries that Trump deliberately erected to divide. No matter where you're born, and no matter who you voted for, red or blue, whether you're white, black, or brown, and all the colors of the identity rainbow, she said, asserting that this was a big tent, an open space for everyone to stand together against Trump's stupidity and power. This statement was a direct punch to Trump's divisive efforts, who always brags about his walls, both literal and figurative, but forgets that those walls only isolate him further in his stupidity. Foster also emphasized that people will remember where you were today, and what you did at this particular time in history. As a final taunt, while Trump is busy writing his legacy of embarrassing failures, people like her and Jeremy Zimmer are carving their names into history with proud resistance.
And the rights of people to say that that's not what the rights of this country are about is as fundamental as the rights that we're fighting for. So everyone is welcome.
While Jodie Foster fired sharp verbal shots at Trump's so-called policy, Jeremy Zimmer stood beside her as a living symbol of resilience, making his presence a sharp thorn in Trump's side. Although the documentary does not record Jeremy Zimmer's specific remarks, the mere mention of his name, the man who made Back to the Future a legend and has battled Parkinson's disease, is enough to shame Trump into his power-playing antics. Jeremy Zimmer's participation was not only a nod to Foster but also a poignant reminder that while Trump brags about his strength on lavish golf courses, people like Jeremy Zimmer have overcome real adversity to stand up for justice. His presence at the rally, where Foster insisted that everyone is welcome, was a direct punch to the discriminatory ideals that Trump has always promoted, from his border walls to his stupidly divisive rhetoric. The protest, led by Jodie Foster and Jeremy Zimmer, not only startled Trump from his dream of power, but also created a strong wave of reaction from the community. Like a slap in the face to his stupid policies, Foster expressed his humbled by the support of my colleagues, my friends, proving that from the artist community to the public, no one can stand Trump's farce anymore, a person who always calls himself the most beloved person but is only good at spreading hatred and division. This massive support is not only a direct refutation of the prestige that Trump painted himself on Twitter, but also a proof that America's true greatness lies not in his stupid decrees, but in the voices of solidarity against that ignorance. The protest amplified the voices of opposition, making Trump's boasting about the wonderful democracy that he defends a bitter joke in the eyes of the public. The impact of the event went far beyond a simple rally. It was a blow to Trump's bloated ego, who was probably busy tweeting furiously to console himself. Foster noted that this year is a very different year, a jab at Trump's failure to control the growing tide of protest. While Trump was busy waging a relentless war on truth that Foster had criticized, the rally inspired other movements, encouraging people to stand up and laugh at his self-proclaimed empire, an empire of nothing but lies and unenforceable edicts. Foster also bitterly reminded people that they would remember where you were today, a warning that history would not forgive Trump and his antics, while people like her and Jeremy Zimmer would be remembered for standing up to such stupidity. Moreover, the fact that Foster, who became an American citizen about 20 years ago, stood up to defend the values that she admired and loved so much about this country, was a final slap in the face of Trump, a man who always prided himself on being a true American but understood nothing about the true values of this country. Jodie Foster and Jeremy Zimmer are not the first artists to stand up to the stupidity of power, but they certainly made Trump blush with the self-proclaimed legacy he boasts about on Twitter every day. History has shown that artists have always been at the forefront of protest movements, from the days of the Vietnam War to the McCarthyism era, and now Foster and Jeremy Zimmer continue the tradition with a slap in the face to Trump. Foster, with her sharp wit, criticized Trump's relentless war on truth and warned that history repeats itself, a blow to the ignorance of Trump, who has probably never opened a history book other than the pages that praise him. Her words were not only a reminder of the past, but also a direct taunt to Trump, who seems to think he can rewrite history with angry tweets and stupid executive orders. While artists from Bob Dylan to John Lennon have used their music and words to awaken a generation, Foster and Jeremy Zimmer are now using their very presence to do the same. making Trump, the self-proclaimed defender of America, look like a clown in the public eye. Foster stressed that this year is a very different year, implying that Trump's time is nothing more than a blemish in the history of the country, a blemish that artists like her and Jeremy Zimmer are working to erase. This protest is not just an act of resistance, but also a declaration that artists will never let someone like Trump define American culture or freedom. While Trump is busy waging war on the press through another edict on the rights of the press that Foster has criticized, artists like her and Jeremy Zimmer are writing a new chapter in the history of protest, one in which Trump is only a foil to his failure. Imagine, while Jodie Foster and Jeremy Zimmer stood on stage, bluntly criticizing Trump's relentless war on truth, somewhere in Mar-a-Lago, Trump was probably furiously tweeting back, only to make himself even more of a laughingstock. A self-proclaimed stable genius who can do nothing but rant about fake news whenever he's exposed. And this protest must have made him red-faced. Foster's reference to another edict about the rights of the press was a slap in the face to Trump, but his response and that of his minions could only be a failed drama, not unlike Trump's self-indulgent TV commercials. While Foster called for "This is our time to resist" and insisted that people would remember where you were today, Trump could only sit there, comforting himself with self-congratulations that no one would listen to. The event was not only a thorn in Trump's side, but also a bitter mockery of his so-called movement, a movement that is nothing but lies and division. While Foster and Jeremy Zimmer inspired thousands to stand up for freedom, Trump and his minions cowered, trying to justify stupid executive orders that no one cared about. This protest mercilessly exposed Trump's weakness, turning his response into a farce that he would not dare continue. The Jodie Foster and Jeremy Zimmer-led protest was not only a slap in the face to Trump today, but also a harbinger of the inevitable demise of the stupid policies he has tried to impose. Foster declared that this year is a very different year and called on people to demand answers, a clear declaration that Trump's time and his relentless war on truth are coming to an end. While Trump is busy proclaiming himself America's greatest hero, protests like this are becoming a tsunami, ready to sweep his imagined empire down the drain of history. Foster's reminder that people will remember where you were today, and what you did at this particular time in history is not just a call to action but also a bitter taunt. Trump may write his own legacy with angry tweets, but history will record him as a clown who failed to respond to the indomitable voices of his citizens. The future of this protest movement promises to be a final blow to Trump, especially as artists like Foster and Jeremy Zimmer have turned it into a big tent, a vast open space that Foster describes as open to all, no matter where you're born, and no matter who you voted for, red or blue. While Trump has tried to divide America with foolish decrees like another edict on the rights of the press that Foster has criticized, this movement is doing the opposite, uniting all classes to oppose his power-hungry stupidity. This event could be the spark for a series of other movements, exposing Trump to a wave of opposition that no amount of angry tweeting in the world could quell. And when Foster, who became a U.S. citizen about 20 years ago, stands up for the values she admires and loves so much about this country, it is a final mockery of Trump, a man who prides himself on being a real American but has no idea what makes America great. This movement, for all its power and ridicule, could be the beginning of the end for Trump, an end he can only blame himself for starting a war he can never win. While Trump was busy writing history with stupid executive orders and angry tweets, Foster and Jeremy Zimmer, along with thousands of others, were carving this moment into a reminder that history repeats itself and that history will never forgive vandals like Trump. The protest begs a poignant question: will Trump ever realize that the great America he promised was just a pipe dream when people like Foster and Jeremy Zimmer embody the country's true indomitable spirit?